Prince Harry has such a cheek that he is now piling the pressure on Catherine, the Princess of Wales, to step in and try and save his failing relationship with Prince William. Not understanding that it's over, brother. It is gone. Finito. Just accept it.
Nobody wanted Harry there either, because Harry has completely blotted his copy with that family and the group of family friends, because nobody can trust Harry anymore.
Catherine was the last person standing between Harry and total isolation from the royal family, and now that door is completely shut. For a long time, sources connected to both sides told Dan Wakefield that Catherine was the only senior royal still holding out any real hope for Harry. Not William, not Charles, just Catherine. Because she's a mother. Because she genuinely believed two brothers should find a way back to each other. So she kept that door cracked open just slightly, while everyone else had already walked away. Then Harry crossed her final line. His public comments about Charles's cancer diagnosis were the last straw. After everything Catherine herself went through her own cancer battle, the fear, the recovery, the months of grueling treatment, hearing Harry use his father's illness as public ammunition was something she could not stomach. Sources say she threw up her hands and said, "This is on you, Harry." Just like that, the most patient, emotionally generous person in that entire family was done.
The big revelation from him is that Prince Harry doesn't even have William's phone number anymore. That is, of course, a mortifying revelation for the Duke of Delusion.
He exploded because obviously his plan, and again this was the difficult bit, he couldn't understand why he was evicted from that particular place.
The woman who tried harder than anyone to keep the peace looked at the full picture and said, "I can't do this anymore." And now, Harry is working back channels, quietly pressuring Catherine to step in and fix things with William, using sources, friends, and media plants to push the idea that she's the only one who can reach him. Dan Wakeford's reporting spells it out clearly. The only person who can always get through to William is Catherine, but whether she even wants to anymore is a completely different question. Paula Froelich flagged it too. This is the exact same playbook Harry ran with Charles. Show up, but only with Meghan and the kids, with full security, with an approved guest list, always conditions. Always demands dressed up in the language of reconciliation. The man who took shots at Catherine in his own book, whose wife made her cry on camera and then flipped the entire story on Oprah, whose inner circle kept the heat on her all through her cancer recovery. That same man now wants Catherine to clean up the mess he made. And here's the wild part: Harry doesn't even have William's phone number anymore. His own brother changed it, and even if Harry somehow tracked it down, William wouldn't pick up. That's how deep this has gone. A palace source made it plain.
They've choked off any information Harry and Meghan had, which is all the currency they had to sell. They have no more royal news to sell, and they're slowly going down the tubes. They've lost everything.
Why would you ever want Harry around when he's going to insist on bringing his wife, who once made you cry, then lied about it to Oprah, and always seems to have varying recollections? Not to mention, you really don't want his wife around who would sell clothing to the effect of what to wear to meet your evil sister-in-law.
William was already furious about Spare, but what hit differently, what genuinely cut, was what Harry wrote about Catherine specifically. William is fiercely protective of her, and those particular words, they caused the most lasting damage of anything in that book. More than the physical confrontation allegations, more than the hair loss comments. It was the Catherine chapter that William may never get past, and this is where it gets serious. William believes the relentless stress, the media attacks, the constant narrative warfare, he believes all of it played a role in Catherine's illness. So ask yourself this: why would she ever open that door again? Why would Catherine open that door again for people who've already shown exactly who they are? She's not going to. And this goes way deeper than a book. Right now, Catherine's instinct is the same one any mother would have protect the children. Keep George, Charlotte, and Louis away from that chaos. Because this isn't just about hurt feelings between grown adults. This is about who gets access to her kids.
William was fuming. but was particularly upset about what Harry said about Kate. He is fiercely protective of her and will find it hard to ever get over it and have a proper relationship with his brother again.
The incidents around the bridesmaid fitting had multiple sources confirming what went down, and a 3-year-old Charlotte was caught in the middle of it. Then there was the wedding morning, where Catherine was left in tears only for the story to get completely flipped on Oprah in front of the entire world. Merchandise followed, mocking Catherine as the evil sister-in-law. And then came Scobie's book, the one that had to be pulled from shelves because of the fallout carrying accusations that Catherine asked racist questions about Archie's skin color. William considers that unforgivable, absolutely unforgivable. Harry went even further in spare, pinning the blame on Catherine for his Nazi costume. He put that in print for the whole world to read. And while Catherine was quietly fighting cancer, the online attacks didn't stop for a single day. People were publicly questioning whether she was even sick, spreading harmful theories about her health. Meghan never said one word to shut it down, not once. After all of that, the bullying, the lies, the racism accusations, the attacks during cancer treatment, Harry now wants Catherine to go to bat for him with William, to open the door he helped slam shut. Paula Froelich put it plainly. Why would Catherine ever want Harry around when he insists on bringing Meghan? And if Meghan feels slighted if someone isn't warm enough, what happens?
This expert, Dan Wakeford, says Harry wants a reconciliation. He regrets the things he said in the book, the documentary, and doing that again is off the table. Yeah, right. What's heartbreaking is he kind of has hoped that William would stumble a little and reach out and need him. I don't know if I believe this. He's got no avenue to communicate with him. However, the expert claimed it cannot happen as Harry reportedly no longer even has William's phone number.
She calls them racist again, because in her mind, nobody could possibly not love her. If they're cold, there's only one explanation. It will happen again. Catherine knows it. William knows it too. This isn't just distance. This is Catherine protecting her children from people who turn every private moment into a headline and every family gathering into material. Every interaction becomes a weapon. Every room they walk into becomes a story. Catherine made her decision, and it's the exact decision any mother watching this would make. And if you need proof this is truly over, look at Peter Phillips's wedding. Harry wasn't invited. His own cousin, the man who was sent to be with William and Harry the night Diana passed, and Harry couldn't get an invitation. But instead of staying quiet about it, Harry planted a story in the Mail claiming he was planning to skip the wedding because of Hello magazine photographers. Tried to make it look like his choice, except he was never invited in the first place. You can't skip something you weren't asked to attend. According to Lady Colin Campbell, whose sources were actually at the wedding, Harry and Meghan's names weren't brought up once the entire day. Guests referred to them as the tosser and the dosser by what seemed like common, unspoken agreement among everyone there. That's not a feud anymore.
It's the same thing he did with King Charles a couple months ago when he let it be known through a source, wink, friend, wink, that, you know, he would be happy to accept an invitation to Sandringham. But of course, he would only go if his wife and kids were there, and that...
Oh yeah, and if there's full security paid for by people like me.
And if he knew who else was going to be there. So it's the same kind of BS that's happening right now.
That's erasure. William and Catherine attended, and by all accounts, the day was exactly what it was supposed to be, a celebration for the bride and groom, which is precisely why Harry wasn't there. Because the moment those two walk in, the day stops being about the couple getting married and starts being about them. Nobody wants that energy at their wedding. Nobody trusts Harry anymore, and at this point, that's not even controversial to say. Anything spoken near him has a track record of ending up in a book, on a streaming platform, or whispered into a journalist's ear. They've made themselves radioactive. And here's the part that really stings. Beatrice and Eugenie got invitations to Peter's wedding, Andrew's daughters. The ones connected to one of the biggest royal scandals in modern history are now ranked above Harry in terms of trust and standing. Let that land for a second. And Harry trying to claim he chose not to go. Lady C didn't hold back. He's got some nerve taking the moral high ground about Peter selling photos to Hello, when Harry sold his entire family to Netflix and packed a book full of claims his own publishers couldn't even verify. So why the desperation? Why the back channels, the media games, the quiet pressure on Catherine? The answer is simple: money. Always money. Running the Montecito operation costs an estimated $6 million a year, and the cash flow has dried up fast. Netflix gone, Spotify gone, Lemonada gone.
He's really the only one who wore the Nazi uniform and made those comments about his fellow soldiers, calling them packy heads and all the stuff that he did. He's actually the only racist in the family. And even that he hasn't taken responsibility for. He blamed that on William and Catherine.
Charities in trouble. Speaking engagements reportedly sitting at around $50,000 with no takers, as ever products landing on eBay, including candles that reportedly didn't even have wicks inside them. Reports surfaced of Meghan telling Harry to find work while her jam line struggles to move product. His listed role at Better Up reportedly hasn't had any real involvement since 2024. The billionaire circle that used to offer private jets and vacation homes is quietly pulling back, tired of feeling like they're being used. Staff have been let go. The lifestyle they built in California is becoming impossible to maintain. And the clock is ticking in ways that go beyond finances. When Charles is eventually gone, the titles follow. HRH gone. The children's titles gone. With William as king, he controls everything. That's what's really driving the panic. Not losing a brother, losing the institution that funded everything. Harry once called royal life the Truman Show, called William trapped. So explain this, why is he fighting so hard to get back into the trap? Because that trap came with a free house, free security, and generational wealth handed over without question. If a massive payday had landed in Montecito tomorrow, everyone knows William would be getting a public roasting by the weekend.
Here's the deal. We all know people who have had cancer or who may not be here anymore because of cancer. And we also know their number one enemy is stress.
Yes.
So why would you invite stress again into your life, especially stress that you do not trust, that have proven in the past hyper untrustworthy? And not to mention, why would you ever want Harry around when he's going to insist on bringing his wife, who once made you cry, then lied about it to Oprah?
Nobody believes for a second that Harry would be playing the remorseful brother if the money had worked out. That's not cynicism, that's just paying attention. That's exactly why Catherine's response wasn't spite, it was clarity. Meanwhile, the public appearances are telling their own story. The Australia tour drew sparse crowds, railings up at the Opera House with noticeable empty space behind them. Meghan spotted in Switzerland, appearing to give remarks to a near-empty area near a bus stop. Harry at a polo match alone, barefoot in the grass, beer in hand, popcorn in the other, watching someone else's child play. His only company was Nacho, who was literally on a horse the entire time. Harry was reportedly staring up at him like a lost puppy. That's the freedom he walked away from a royal life to build. He showed up to Jose Andres' event solo without Meghan, even though the connection was through her. She didn't even attend her own contact's event. The distance between them is becoming harder to ignore, and the public is noticing. Back inside the monarchy, the tension is just as raw. Tom Sykes reported that William believes Charles is repeating the same pattern with Harry that he once made with Andrew, too much grace extended to someone who keeps taking advantage of it. William's position on the racism allegations made against Catherine is reportedly final and immovable.
Don't forget, on Oprah, he called the royal family racist. He and Meghan both did. And then he sat in front of Todd Bradby and said, "We didn't call them racist. The British press said that." Even though everybody has all the recordings where he said it. He's already tried to roll it back. That's what they turned
came in and
into.
created negative, hateful content against their own family. And once you do that and you got nothing else to sell.
But it went on and on and on and on.
Sources describe him as someone who marches to the beat of his own drum. Nobody can persuade him to do something he doesn't want to do. And he does not want reconciliation. The betrayal cut too deep. As for Charles meeting Harry this summer, Paula Froelich confirmed it's not happening. The Invictus Countdown event in Birmingham is Harry's only real excuse to set foot back in the UK. And let's be honest, it's the kind of thing that could have been handled with a single post from his couch in Montecito. Instead, he's boarding a transatlantic flight, chasing a meeting that every source, every insider, and every piece of evidence says simply is not going to happen. Let's be clear about what this trip actually is. It's not a reconciliation attempt. It's not a peace mission. It's a calculated move dressed up as duty, using a charity event as cover to show up on British soil and hope that proximity alone forces someone's hand. But the family has seen this playbook before, and nobody is picking up the script. They're not going to strip the titles. That would give Harry exactly what he wants: a dramatic moment, a news cycle, a reason to play the victim on every platform still willing to have him. Instead, they'll do something far more effective and far more painful. They'll make those titles completely meaningless. No invitations.
William just basically, I've been told, just feels that Charles is just making the same mistake all over again with Harry. And he feels that Harry's betrayal, particularly, this allegation that Catherine asked bigoted questions about a child's skin colour, particularly this allegation that Catherine asked bigoted questions about, a child's potential skin colour that came out in the Omid Scobie book that was then pulped. He thinks it's unforgivable.
No shared rooms, no acknowledgement in public, no phone calls returned, just silence, deliberate, calculated, permanent silence. The exact same treatment historically given to the Duke of Windsor and Wallis Simpson. Keep your title, keep your so-called freedom, but understand what comes with it: absolutely nothing else. No access, no relevance, no place at the table. Just a name with no power behind it, and a lifestyle that's becoming harder to fund by the month. And this didn't happen overnight. Harry was warned before he ever left. Clear red lines were laid out in plain terms. He was told exactly what crossing them would mean, what it would cost, and what could never be taken back. He looked at every single one of those lines and crossed them anyway. He used every piece of private access he had been trusted with. He turned family conversations into book chapters. He turned private grief into streaming content. He turned personal relationships into currency and spent every last coin. Now there's nothing left to sell and genuinely no one left to call. This isn't a rough patch. This isn't a brand going through a difficult season. This is the end of the road, and the silence coming from the palace is not awkward, it's intentional. Sources close to William have been consistent. He is not angry in the way people get angry and eventually cool down. This is something different, a settled, firm, unmovable position.
But let's say I don't like you, and I have to be pleasant to you. But if you feel slighted because perhaps I'm not as effusive as you'd like me to be, then what are you going to do? Say I'm a racist? That will happen again, because in her mind, if we look at Meghan, in her mind, no one could possibly not love her.
The kind that doesn't soften with time. William has watched what happened to Catherine. He has watched what the sustained pressure, the public attacks, the media warfare did to her health. He believes it contributed to her illness. And knowing that, the idea of reopening any door that lets that energy back in is simply not something he is willing to entertain. Not for appearances. Not for the cameras. Not even for the idea of brotherhood. Now, let's talk about the final piece of this puzzle, because if anyone was still sitting on the fence about whether Catherine made the right call, what we're about to get into should settle it completely. Meghan has built her entire public image on two things: family and forgiveness. It's woven into every interview, every lifestyle brand, every carefully curated post about love and healing and showing up for the people who matter. It sounds beautiful. The problem is that the moment you look at how she actually treats her own family, the whole image starts to crack wide open. Thomas Markle is her father. He recently lost a leg and is currently being fitted for a prosthetic. He is aging.
they get common unspoken consent. Harry and Meghan's names were not mentioned, that they are persona non grata to such an extent that everybody understood it would be a solecism to mention the names of, wait for it, I made a note of it, the tosser and the dosser.
He is unwell, and his stated wish, the thing he says he wants more than anything, is simply to meet his grandchildren and shake the hand of a son-in-law he has never once been introduced to. That's it. That's the wish. Not money, not media attention, not a dramatic reunion special, just to meet the family his daughter built and be acknowledged as part of it. She hasn't called. She cut him off over paparazzi photos taken before the royal wedding photos that, on the surface, appeared staged. But here's where the story takes a sharp turn. The photographer behind those controversial photos of Thomas Markle, the same photographer later appeared behind the staged polo pictures of Harry. The very person used to explain why her father had to be cut off was later used by the same household for their own image management. And serious questions have been raised by people who were close to the situation about whether Thomas Markle was deliberately set up to be pushed out before the wedding ever took place.
So yet again, Harry and Meghan are seeking to obtain the high ground and establishing how morally superior they are, when in fact everybody knows only too well that they are in the gutter. And Harry did not plan to duck his cousin's wedding. You can't duck that which is not a part of the occasion. Harry wasn't asked to the wedding. Harry was never going to be asked to the wedding. So how he can announce that he planned to duck that which he was not asked to? Oh, sorry, I forgot. Meghan has a reputation for crashing things.
Whether the whole thing was engineered to give her a clean exit from a father who might complicate the carefully constructed narrative she was building. If that sits uncomfortably, it should. Because a man who simply wanted to walk his daughter down the aisle ended up humiliated on a global stage, cut off from his grandchildren, and is now losing limbs while his daughter sends gift baskets to strangers on the internet. And that's not an exaggeration. While Thomas Markle waits for a phone call that isn't coming, Meghan reportedly sent $300 worth of her own products free of charge to an online account with a track record of publicly mocking Catherine's cancer battle. Someone who spent time and energy targeting a woman going through one of the most frightening health experiences a person can face received jam and candles as a reward, delivered, gifted, sent with what had to be full awareness of who was receiving them.
When they sold those hateful stories and shared those secrets of their own family, that's a hard thing to come back from. Once you lose the trust, it's gone. You can't get it back.
That's $6 million a year. $6 million a year to cover all their expenses. And up until now, their billionaire friends like Jamie Kern-Lena and all of them, and that Victoria Jackson woman with the makeup, have been letting them use their private jets and stay in their homes. But, after a couple of years of being used that way, I'm sure they're getting sick of it.
That is not a mistake. You don't accidentally send a personalized gift to someone. That is a choice, and it tells you everything you need to know about where the priorities actually sit. This is the person Harry is fighting to bring back into Catherine's orbit. This is who he wants around George, Charlotte, and Louis. A woman who publicly champions forgiveness while her own father sits alone waiting for a call. A woman whose online supporters targeted a cancer patient for months without a single public word asking them to stop, and who then apparently rewarded one of them. A woman whose conduct during the bridesmaid fitting before the royal wedding had multiple credible sources speaking out, and who then sat across from Oprah and told the world a completely different version of events with the cameras rolling and millions watching. Catherine was in that room. Catherine knows what actually happened, and Catherine has spent years watching the pattern repeat, a private moment twisted, a narrative flipped,
Harry has one hell of a nerve to be trying to stand on the moral high ground that Peter had sold photographs of his first wedding to Hello when Harry has sold out his family in Spare and to Netflix with not only a joyous occasion, but a whole heap of lies.
A story sold. She has seen it happen to herself. She has seen it happen to Charles. She has watched it play out again and again, and she is not confused about what she's looking at. The people closest to this situation have been consistent in how they describe her position. She is not conflicted. She is not quietly hoping things turn around. She is not waiting for the right moment to extend an olive branch. She made a decision and it is rock solid. One widely shared comment capturing exactly what the public was feeling racked up over 1,600 likes, saying plainly what most people had already concluded. Catherine knows where she stands, and she is not moving. And let's zoom out for a second, because the bigger picture here is just as striking. Harry went to Jose Andres' charity event recently solo, without Meghan, even though that connection ran directly through her.
He thinks he can have his cake and eat it too. He can do whatever the hell he wants, and no one will stop him. And he may be right. They may not actually say anything. They may not take his titles away, but they will make them ineffective by never being in the same room with him again.
The royal family will never let those kids in, because if you let the kids in, you let Harry and Meghan in. He's screwed his whole family.
Her contact, her relationship, her world, and she didn't show up. He attended alone. The gap between them is no longer something being managed behind closed doors. It's playing out in public, at events, in seating arrangements, in who shows up and who doesn't. People are noticing, and nobody is particularly surprised. The Australia appearances told a similar story. Crowds that didn't materialize the way they were expected to. Barriers set up at the Opera House with visible empty space behind them. The image of a couple who once commanded global attention now struggling to fill a frame. Meghan was photographed in Switzerland in a setting that looked more like an awkward street corner moment than the polished platform she's used to.
He wasn't too happy by the fact that suddenly everything they put in it, you know, the refurbishments and stuff like that, well, all being ripped apart. And this was very much played out in the public domain by the royals.
Joss, who he was sort of watching forlornly, like he was the sort of like lover. It was weird.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Nacho's really his only friend around there. So he's probably like, get off your horse and come talk to me. I'm so lonely. I've got no one to talk to.
And Harry at a polo match barefoot, alone, beer in one hand, popcorn in the other, watching someone else's child play while his only real company, Nacho, was literally on a horse the entire afternoon. That is the life that was chosen over a role in one of the most recognized institutions in the world. That is what the fight was for. And now, with the money drying up, the deal's gone, the audience shrinking, and the family door firmly shut, the reality of that choice is impossible to avoid. $6 million a year to run the Montecito operation. Netflix gone. Spotify gone. Lemonada gone. Speaking fees sitting at around $50,000 with no real takers.
Well, actually, to be fair, I did report this week that the odds are looking very slim that Harry will meet up with King Charles at all this summer.
I so hope you're right, Paula.
Yes, I think really what's happened in the last month, as I like to call it, the days of our Montecito lives, every week there's something else. So
there is.
These guys, you know, they've just behaved so badly lately. And really, ever since they tore up the Sandringham agreement with that cover in People magazine, and really have just, with the monetizing of the children and the family, I don't think there's any way that Charles can meet with him, at least publicly. I do not believe he will show up to Birmingham.
Products ending up on resale sites, a role at Better Up that sources say hasn't had any meaningful involvement since 2024, the billionaire network that once provided jets and holiday homes quietly stepping back, staff reduced. The infrastructure of a lifestyle built on royal adjacency crumbling without the royals. And when Charles is eventually gone, the titles follow. With William as king, he controls the institution entirely. That's the part Harry hasn't found a way around. He can call royal life a trap all he wants, but that trap came with security, housing, funding, and global relevance handed to him at birth. Without it, the numbers don't work. And right now, the numbers are not working.
He was warned beforehand, and he was always told there are these certain red lines. And if you cross those red lines, it's over. And my God, he crossed them, you know.
Let me just say also, her whole brand is on family, forgiveness, love. Right. And yet she won't talk to her own father, who just had a leg amputated due to a life-threatening blood clot. He's now back in the United States trying to get fitted for a prosthetic. She still hasn't reached out to him.
Tom Sykes reported that William's frustration with Charles runs deep, specifically because he believes his father is making the same mistakes with Harry that were made with Andrew. Too much grace, too many chances, too much willingness to leave a door open for someone who has shown repeatedly what they do when they get access. William's position is not one of anger that might fade. Sources describe it clearly. He moves to his own rhythm, makes his own calls, and cannot be talked into something he has decided against. And he has decided. Paula Froelich confirmed that Charles will not be meeting Harry this summer. That's not a scheduling issue. That's a statement.
Why would you ever want Harry around when he's going to insist on bringing his wife, who once made you cry, then lied about it to Oprah, and always seems to have varying recollections? Not to mention, you really don't want his wife around who would sell clothing to the effect of what to wear to meet your evil sister-in-law.
So here's where everything lands. Catherine is not the villain of this story. She's the clearest-eyed person in it. She gave more grace than anyone could reasonably be expected to give. She held the door open long after everyone else had walked away, and when she finally made her decision, it wasn't emotional, it wasn't reactive. It was based on years of evidence, a pattern she had watched play out over and over, and a very simple calculation that every mother watching this would understand: her children come first. Full stop. Harry flew to the UK for an event he could have supported from a living room in California. He is hoping that showing up creates an opportunity that no one on the other side is willing to give him. The family has drawn its lines. William has drawn his. Charles has pulled back. And Catherine, the last one still holding any hope, closed the door quietly, firmly, and for good reason. The titles will stay, the silence will stay louder, and nothing about a Birmingham countdown event is going to change any of that. If this video kept you locked in from start to finish, hit that like button. It genuinely helps more than most people realize. Share this with someone who's been following this story, because there is a lot more still to unpack. Subscribe if you're not already part of this community. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, we read them. And the best ones always make it into the conversation. We'll see you in the next one.